Moldova's pro-European ruling party have secured a majority in the country's parliamentary elections, defeating its Russian-leaning rivals in a tense campaign. For more, we're joined by Regional Director of the Black Sea Trust at the German Marshall Fund of the United States, Clara Volunteeru. Clara, can you tell us, or can you confirm the latest count of votes? Was this election result expected?
Hello. Indeed, I think the electoral results were somehow expected in the sense that the President Maia Sandu from Moldova has adamantly put forward a campaign that argued in favor of a clear majority, and she succeeded in achieving that. But it's not necessarily a surprise in the sense that a governing party usually erodes its position in power after a mandate, given overlapping crises from the energy crisis to the neighboring war in Ukraine and economic downturn due to all of these circumstances. So it is in a sense surprising that a governing party managed to hold on to a majority in parliament and not get its position eroded.
Now, this vote was essentially deciding on what path Moldova takes, one closer to Europe or one closer to Russia. There was a record turnout in this election, so people were very interested in getting out to vote.
Indeed, it was very much a geopolitical election with the incumbent government and president very firmly on the pro-European, pro-Western trajectory of the country and benefiting from the support of key international leaders, especially European leaders, President Macron, Chancellor Merz, Prime Minister Tusk, and the Romanian President Nicu Șordan were all in Chișinău just over the last weeks, ensuring that the message gets through to the Moldovan public that Europe stands firmly together and alongside Moldova in its quest, in its struggle to detach itself from the area of influence of Russia and to anchor its future in the European Union. On the other side, Russia has deployed multiple destabilizing techniques and malign interferences into the electoral process, and we can only expect that to continue.
Well, tell us why Russia is particularly interested in the outcome of this election with the accusations of Moscow interfering with the poll.
Moldova is relevant to Russia on two accounts. One is the military position. Moldova encompasses the territory of Transnistria, where there is still a Russian-based army, and Transnistria is at the frontier with Ukraine. So controlling the Moldovan authorities in Chișinău would allow Russian influence to open up a second front to the war in Ukraine. So that has a very high significance. But probably more than that is the significance of piloting destabilizing techniques. Russia is using the Republic of Moldova as a laboratory for the past years in a hybrid warfare that it is leading not just against Moldova, but the entire European continent and beyond. We've seen the same tactics being applied in or scaled in Romania, Germany, or France, and some of them are even of international inspiration, similar to the disinformation campaigns deployed on TikTok and other social media channels by China in Philippines, for example. So Moldova has a relevance beyond its borders and its domestic democracy.
Tell us, what was the reaction from the European Union to the result? How important is Moldova to the EU?
The societal resilience in Moldova is just as much of an issue as it is the societal resilience of the whole of Europe. And the way the Moldovan authorities and the whole of society stood up to counter Russian malign interferences, be they vote-buying networks in a traditional format in the villages and neighborhoods, or more advanced social media or crypto coins being distributed to voters and false narratives, these are all elements that threaten our democracies across the globe when a malign interference from Russia or China steps in. So for the European Union, Moldova is a partner, a trusted partner, fighting at the frontier of its borders, just like Ukraine is fighting in the full-scale invasion of Russia. Moldova and other European democracies are fighting in the hybrid warfare with Russia.
And do you think under this leadership, Moldova is far away from EU membership now?
No, on the contrary. I think that was the bet that President Maya Sandu made. In a sense, she was very adamant of not envisaging a future of coalition building and negotiating with other parties. And she very adamantly made a point of getting a majority through her party's electoral results. That's what she achieved. It's her credit as the leader, the figurehead of Moldova's European integration. But the European integration is a quest for the entire population, and the vote gives her the legitimacy to push forward necessary reforms that will deliver sooner rather than later a European future for Moldova. Her quest is to bring Moldova into the European Union by 2030, and with the popular support, that is a possibility.
And what will this election result mean for the people of Ukraine and the war waged by Russia right now?
It is a sign of relief that the neighboring Moldova, that has a very large border frontier with Ukraine, continues to be a trusted ally. Both President Zelensky and President Sandu are wartime leaders in a sense. They have confronted Russia's aggression on different fronts. Of course, Ukraine is leading a dramatic and painful war of aggression from Russia, but at the same time having trusted partners and neighbors in the case of Moldova, but also Romania, Poland, the Baltic states, creates a certain sign of relief for Ukraine that its territory and its borders will continue to be supported by trusted allies. On the other hand, the trilateral cooperation between Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine has advanced under the leadership of the presidents of these three countries, and continuing on that path will likely produce more of a security agenda than if the elections would have gone the other way.
Well, in Moldova, power is shared between the president and a prime minister appointed by parliament. What will this parliament look like?
The parliament has a clear majority of the party of the president, Maya Sandu, PAS, and in that sense we can expect a government that will be very closely aligned to her agenda. So it is a victory for the president and for her party, and it is again a sign of relief in terms of the speed and support for the reforms needed for EU integration. The risk that lies ahead is that the pro-Russian forces that constitute a certain share of the seats in parliament will not block the process from within as much as they will block it from outside, in the sense that we know that they are preparing protests, contesting the electoral results, and they will continue to lead a massive campaign of destabilizing from within, targeting the popular support and confidence in the government, and to try to diminish the optimism regarding a European future for Moldova.
Clara Volontieri, really good to talk to you tonight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.